Leaders are always learning and growing, yet still it's easy to get stuck in a rut. Well, today's presenter, Mr. Ontonio Dawson, licensed therapist and author, has a word for you. Take a listen to his take on old wine skins, an interrogative approach to renewal for the leader.
Hello, everyone. Greetings to you today. I trust you guys are having a great day. It's indeed a privilege for me to be here today to share with you in this inaugural event. Such an awesome privilege to be sharing in the Mind Over Matter event for the first time ever. We're having this amazing event, and I'm so happy that Jamaica is putting this on to facilitate conversations around mental health during these challenging times that we're living in. So just to introduce myself a bit, you guys might have been privileged to the information before. So I am Antonio Dawson, and I am a trained cognitive psychotherapist here in the UK, and I work in the city of London. I'm also a minister of religion and an author. I'm the author of this book, God's Seed for Success. And the whole purpose of this book is to help individuals to unlock their purpose. I looked at the life of Abraham and I incorporate my psychological and spiritual views to package this book as a map to your success. So please check it out on Amazon and grab your copy, and I'm sure you will be blessed by this book. I'm also the founder of the Speak Black Man movement, which is aimed to empower men to become their best and to speak about difficult emotions and situations that affect them in life. Today, I want to speak to you though from my psychological capacity and also incorporating some spiritual insight into this discussion today. The topic that I've been asked to speak to you on is old wine skins, an interrogative approach to renewal for leaders. Now, it is so important that all of you today listening to the sound of my voice understand just how important it is to prioritize your mental health. Your mental health is your greatest wealth, and everything that you're trying to accomplish in this world is insignificant if your mental health is not in the right place. And so the mind is like a car. The car has to be serviced on a regular basis. You take it to the shop for it to be serviced so it can continue its journey on the road. There comes a time, or there has to be a space in your life where you have to have what I call self-therapy. A place where you are servicing your mind, detoxing your mind from all the things that might be overwhelming your mind. So think about the mind like a garbage bin. The garbage bin, after a while, so many things go download in it, and if you don't dispose of it, then start to smell in the atmosphere and start to affect not only you but those that are around you. If you're not taking your mental health in hand, over time it starts to affect the others, not only you but others who are around you. So today, whether you are a CEO, an executive, a director, a manager, or simply just an employee, it is important that your mental health is being prioritized. Hence the reason the Bible tells us in I think it's Romans 12, it said, be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of the mind. As long as you're living in this world, the world will cause you to become polluted by different ideologies, different thinking, different stress, different struggles. But you have to now seek to be transformed, meaning you have to see a different perspective, from the perspective that will bring about less mental distress. And so the mind is where it all is, especially in these challenging times. We've all recognized during this pandemic that unless you are managing your mind, you will not be able to be successful in what you want to achieve. Am I right in saying that? Now, according to Rethink Mental Health, which is a charity here in the UK, it said that 80% of people that had a mental health difficulty before the pandemic has reported that their mental health has become worse, which means that mental health problem has significantly increased. Other data around the world has shown similar finding that persons with mental health and those without mental health difficulties are now experiencing more overwhelming symptoms of common mental health such as depression and anxiety. According to the World Health Organization, it is estimated that about 450 million people are affected by different mental disorder at this current time. And it's also, the data also go on to say 1 in every 4 persons will be affected by mental health problem in the future. Now in the UK, the current data is saying 1 in 6. In Jamaica, the data might not be as accurate as some other countries, but we know it is also a colossal problem in Jamaica. As someone who worked as a police officer in Jamaica and traveled the streets of Jamaica, I know the challenge that we have as it relates to mental health. Someone who worked in the system in Jamaica, I know just how neglected mental health problem is in our country. And so it's so important that we're having this conversation now to start changing the narrative and shifting the conversation, because we know predominantly the conversation that people have when they hear mental health is that you are mad. But we've passed that stage now where mental health conversation cannot be discriminated against, cannot be looked down on, but we must start to normalize this conversation. And so what are we talking about today? As managers, as leaders, it is so important that you yourself are afraid or knowledgeable of what mental health is, because if you are not able to understand the struggles that people have with mental health, you might be experiencing mental health difficulties thinking that you can cope when there is this imbalance in your life. So stress is what kickstarts mental health problem. And stress is when the demands of life becomes too much for your mental capacity to reason out. So there becomes an imbalance. One has to be able to know when to let the pipe out and release some of the overwhelming situation affecting you. So this is how mental health problem comes. When you're internalizing, spending a lot of time in your thoughts, and when you're in your thoughts, then you're prone to what we call thinking errors. And these thinking errors will start to affect how you see the world, creating beliefs that will affect how you live your life. Now, we know that mental health problems such as depression and anxiety are common in the workplace, affecting individuals, families, co-workers, the broader community. They have the potential to not only affect these problems don't affect only people, but they affect the workplace. Now, after a while, people might become absentee. They might not show up for work. This reduced productivity within the workplace, and it might also create loss in terms of the cost. It's not cost effective. Mental health problems account, according to one research, for up to about 54% of work. 54% of work-related loss is accounted within mental health problem. One study, according to a research I found here, said 44% of work-related ill health is due to mental health problem. So even physical health that people have, it starts from a mental health problem. In the workplace, you're stressing about something, it can lead to cancer, it can lead to other kind of thing, because you're activating the stress, activate the cells in your body to become so overwhelmed that you're putting your body at risk. So we have to be mindful of the impact that within the workplace as managers, if we are not managing the stress, the anxiety, and all that you're experiencing, you too will become overloaded to the point where mental health difficulties become something that you will be struggling with. Not just mental health, but mental illness will become your reality. So we know that due to this global pandemic, so many people are struggling. Your employees are struggling. Those you are supervising are struggling. And some people will suffer in silence because they don't want to be open about how they're feeling. It is so important that you create an atmosphere within your workplace where people are comfortable to talk about how they're feeling. It is very imperative that your HR system is aware of mental health and are willing to allow the conversation to become something that is open within the organization. I think one of the most improvement we can make within this challenging time that we're living in is to normalize these difficulties, allow people to understand that times are really tough and you need to speak about how you are feeling. So as I said, we have to prioritize our mental health. Now I want to look at a few factors that can also affect managers in doing your role as one who is supposed to govern and support your employees and support yourself in terms of managing your mental health. Now, sometimes we want to pour what we don't have into people, and sometimes our leadership style might cause us to want to always be giving to people when we're not servicing ourselves. And you have to be careful and really assess your leadership style. So there are three leadership styles that we want to look at today that can also contribute to mental health problems. For those who are transactional leaders, and transactional leaders are usually leaders who they like a set order and structure. They want things to be done governed by a certain rule and regulation. And if that rule and regulation or standard is not met, you often find that leaders might become overwhelmed mentally with the pressure of expectation. Now, the greatest thing that will affect you and your mental health is your own expectation. Because when you expect too much and things, your standard is not met, then that's when the problem comes in, because you internalize, which can also relate to depression. So be careful of your leadership style. If you have very rigid expectation, be careful of that. And then there is transformational leader. The transformational leader focuses on the needs of the people more than the needs of themselves. And this also is dangerous. Because if you're only putting the employees' needs first, it simply means that you are placed in the back seat of your life, which prevents you from adequately treating yourself with the compassion to know when to take a break, when to implement things to support your mental health. So this, I'm saying, transactional and transformational leaders need to be careful. What you want is a blend, a balance of both leadership style. And for those who are kind of a laissez-faire leader, you might just give the employee everything to do by themselves. This is also dangerous because you're shifting mental health problem on those you're supervising, those you're managing. So be careful of your leadership style, because this can also facilitate mental health problem. I cannot overemphasize this point. So by now, I'm sure you're getting an idea of what I'm trying to say. Your mental health is your greatest wealth, but you have to be careful how you strategize yourself and how you stretch yourself to fulfill the needs of the organization without putting you in the driver's seat of your life. Okay, so let's move on to think a bit more about some of the key things that one wants to think about when you're thinking about managing your mental health. Now, managing your mental health requires work. Um, and oftentimes, if you are not seeing this as a full-time duty for yourself, you will become pulled into what we call thinking traps. And thinking traps, from a cognitive standpoint, are beliefs or views that you hold in your head that cause you to live in a way that you're looking at things from a one-sided perspective. And this is what we call a mental filter, where you're only seeing things from your viewpoint, but you're not seeing the bigger picture of life. And so, one, be careful of what we call negative automatic thoughts. These are thoughts that comes into your mind that might not necessarily be the reality of the time. So, for example, an employee might have done something, or you might have a deadline to meet, and you think that if you don't meet this deadline, you're going to be seen as a horrible manager. It's better that you're prioritizing your mental health than to care about what people will see you like. Don't allow the pressure. They said, Jamaica, you must hear this point. They said, pressure bust pipe. Be careful how you allow the pressure of the workplace to overwhelm your mind. So thinking errors have to be corrected. Ask yourself, when you're feeling pressured, what's another way to see this? Now, many times we get pulled into asking ourselves, why? Why did I do this? For those people who are also constantly being hard on yourself, getting pulled into rumination, going back into mistakes that you've made on the job, things that didn't work out, don't get pulled into asking why questions too much, because this will overwhelm the mind. Ask yourself what and how. What can I do about this problem that we need to have, and how am I going to solve it? As a manager, to manage your mental health, stop having mental arguments. Stop allowing the expectation, that inner bully of your expectation, to cause you to live defeated. Ask yourself, what can I do about it, and how will I deal with this problem? Now, the next thing I want to speak about is core beliefs. Our core beliefs. Many of us, we have beliefs that we've grown up with, and we think that it is the way to live. Depression and anxiety affects us based on our thoughts and how we see things. So if you have certain beliefs that things have to be a certain way, then when things don't come how you want it to, you start to become overwhelmed with your own thoughts, drowning yourself in negative automatic thoughts, which then start to affect your productivity, which then start to affect the organization, which then start to affect your employees. So be careful how you allow these key things that I've just mentioned to be impacting you on the job. So you have to show up for yourself each day with a renewed mind, with a mind that you're pouring into yourself, and ensure that you're having mentors, ensure that you're having people that you can speak to. Create a space for self-therapy, create a space that you can be pouring into yourself and growing and learning and empowering yourself each day, so you can be the best manager you can be. Now, how do you do this? There are a few things I want to look at really quickly that can help you to do this. One, you have to become self-compassionate. You have to speak to yourself as though you would speak to someone else. You have to treat yourself as though you treat someone else that you care about. Because if you're on the job and you're just giving, and you're not being compassionate, what you're going to find is that over time you will burn out. Over time you will be in a place where you might be gaslighting. Over time you might find that you become toxic to yourself and those who are around you. So be self-compassionate, treat yourself with care, understand that only you can treat you how you deserve to be treated. And the next one is, it ties in with self-compassion nicely, is self-care. Take a time from work, do something you love, spend time with people you love, do things that makes you happy. Don't just focus on the job, because guess what? Nobody is irreplaceable. It doesn't matter how good you think you are at your job. If something should happen to you tomorrow, the job will continue. So be sure to put your self-care paramount important. Delegating. Managers sometimes don't delegate. I love this Bible story with this Bible character called Moses. There came a time when Moses had so much happening that he became overwhelmed. God sent him someone called Jethro to help him to divide the labor and stretch the work. Sometimes you can just divide the labor to people who want to develop in this role and learn new skills. Divide the labor to take off some of the mental stress, and then be careful of your own expectation through perfectionism, because perfectionism oftentimes pollute your purpose, thinking that things has to be perfect, so when things don't reach the standard that you want, you become anxious. Bible said, be anxious for nothing, but in everything through prayer and supplication make your request be made known. You must have an outlet. You must have a place that you go and speak about how things are affecting you. So it's so important as we started out this conversation today, to recognize that the key thing for your mental health is to ensure that you are removing the things from your mind that overwhelms you, the things that triggers anxiety, because the reality is that all of us are on a spectrum, and at any time we can be tipped over to experience depression or anxiety. No one is perfect. Mental health does not discriminate. Regardless of how cute you are, or intelligent you are, or amazing you are, you can be affected by it. So today, take these few words that I've shared with you today and go change your world. Make some adjustment. Look at your structure. Look at how you can prioritize you more, and create a balance in your life, because unless you create a balance, imbalance will cause depression, cause stress. Create that balance and put yourself in the middle of your priority. God bless you. God bless you.